Okay, so we will proceed with our next session, a panel discussion on personal brand, a key to building your CXO profile. So we are having our esteemed panelists, Varun Duggirala, Rajani, Athreya, and Raamann. And this has been moderated by our chief coach, Radhika. So I hand over it to Nikhil.
Hi everyone. Varun, our guest today, he believes that human beings need to be brought back to the center of the way we work to inspire higher performance, deeper purpose, and sustainable profit. He spent 14 years as a successful founder, building one of India's most influential creative companies, scaling it from two people in an apartment to a multi-million-dollar global business while balancing commerce, culture, and character. He has also spent years as one of India's premier conversationalists. That's a tongue twister. A premier conversationalist having conversations with the seasoned founders, artists, and thought leaders through his podcast, Take a Pause, Think Fast, and Advertising is Dead. He stealth coaches founders, business leaders, and artists in all that he has learned about building profitable businesses while staying true to one's purpose and passion through what he has defined as the slow hustle method. Varun, welcome.
So guys, so I'm Rushal, and I am going to introduce the next panelist. So our next panelist is Rajani Athreya. She's a Senior Director HR Insights Division, South Asia, Kantar. Rajani, she's a seasoned HR and brings about 30 years of experience in banking, security, information services, technology, market research. Rajani has been with Kantar since 2019 and works closely with South Asia's executive leadership and the global HR leadership to drive business performance, organizational transformation, future readiness of South Asia region. She is a passionate proponent of inclusion and diversity in people's practice and is a co-member of Kantar South Asia's Inclusion and Diversity Steering Committee. Prior to Kantar, Rajni has held leadership positions in multinational organizations like DBS Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Standard Chartered Securities, ANZ Gandal's Bank, and Thomas Reuters. Rajni had already started a career in retail banking and moved to HR subsequently to pursue her passion. She's a strong believer in building capabilities, driving performance, institutionalizing culture. She's worked with leaders across the globe and has partnered business through diverse scenarios like aggressive scale-ups, reorganization, M&A, brand building, leadership transition. She's a mentor and a coach to individuals and teams and has a reputation of building trusted colleagues and strategic consultant. So let's welcome.
That sounded really nice.
Who's next?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Raamann Ahuja today. He comes with over 27 years of business and HR experience, having made a huge impact globally. His main focus is on people and driving the HR efforts to support organization goals. He's managed both high growth environments in India corporations and MNCs, turnaround business situations, and startups. Mr. Raamann is currently working with PDS Limited as a group CHRO based in Mumbai. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raamann, Rajni, and Varun. It's a great pleasure to have all three of you on this dais and a room full of people from different places: Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, Delhi, and couple of them from Dubai, Singapore, and the Bay Area as well. So we have a very mixed group of individuals here, and the best thing is each one is wanting to grow, be part of the growth story, want to lead from the front, and are aspiring to take charge to be that role model for people and the growth story that India is basically dreaming of. They are from IT, banking, multiple space, and we've been discussing over the last 1 week about what is it that requires to grow to be a leader. And interestingly, all of them talk about the X factor, which we keep discussing multiple times. And in my quest, I keep asking this question to most people as well. So we had a panel discussion in the morning, and that's what few of them as well asked. It's like it always reminds me of that ad, उसमें क्या है जो मुझ में नहीं है, and it's something which always keeps us questioning. So we said, let's work on and learn from people from the HR, people from, and Varun of course, who's a marketing branding guru. So let's learn and hear what it takes to stand out in this crowd. So with that, we came up with this topic, how can personal branding be a key to CXO profile? We always associate personal branding to something which is not corporate. You know, an author, a movie star, everyone works on a personal brand, a businessman probably. So when you're in the corporate ladder, can you really work on a personal brand? Do you even need to work on a personal brand? Or should I just wait for me to climb the ladder one by one to reach where I have to reach? Does it even make sense to invest that time and effort onto it? So with that, I would like to ask the first question to Raamann. How do you balance the need for a personal brand with, first of all, let's go to, do you think it's something we should even invest in, work on, and what does it mean to you?
So, am I audible to everybody? Perfect, perfect. You know, so this is out of syllabus question. मैं बहुत तैयारी करके आया था. You know, I'm just going to share a few stories, and I'm not good with notes. But after I knew my panelist Rajani, who's extremely thorough, we were together in Standard Chartered. Then I saw Varun's videos, and I'm like, wow, I better go prepared. If not prepared, I should look prepared. Baki story baad mein dekhi jayegi. So, you know, Radhika, before even I answer the question, you know, this personal branding, there is a psychology behind it. And I'm just going to read. It's not about how others perceive you. It's about what you believe in yourself. That's extremely important. And as I reflect, before I come to corporate, I remember when I was a 4-year-old, I had a lovely voice. Now it's got deep-throated. I put people to sleep. Guests would come to our house, and just imagine your childhood. You know, wherever we came from, guests would come, and our parents would say, "Beta, aaja, show your dance move, sing, tell a story, the poem, show the gold medal that you won or the race." That whole thought process was about you want to be remembered. I think the psychology of branding, whether it's a product brand or a human brand or us as a brand, is how do I ensure you remember me? Right? Either I stand out, either I become a hero, or I become a victim, or I become a villain. 3 things you'll remember in a movie, right? Same as our life, right? I'm learning much more than ever because I have 2 daughters. And you know, I was talking to Radhika, Rajani, and Varun. I think your kids teach you a lot. I'm not anti-son. I'm a son to somebody, a very tough son. But I think your kids teach you a hell lot about branding. So when I reflect on brand, reflect on your time when your parents were presenting you as a brand. Reflect on the time when your kids think of you as a brand. My daughter once told me, "Dad, you are my superhero." That brand is still with me. I don't think I do justice to that now that she's 20. Now she asks me, "Dad, आप करते क्या हो?" सब कुछ तो mom करती है. So my brand is now Fuss. So now I'm trying to help her in her education. She's studying overseas, and I tell her, "Beta, कुछ notes हो तो बता दे, I'll work for you." I have to show, right? I'm useful. That's not the answer to what Radhika said. I think this branding concept to me is, am I standing out in the crowd? Or even if I'm the crowd, am I visible? It could be my bright shirt, my bright eyes, my bright voice, my super smile, my dimples, or a shabby dress I wear because I want to stand out. I think, Radhika, it stems from the human need. And Varun is an expert on branding on products. People tell me, is your voice important? Voice modulation, how you look, how you feel, your haircut. Brand started with products. Products don't speak. It doesn't talk to anybody. The shape doesn't matter. It is the utility of what it does to you. To me, that is what branding is all about. Am I useful to somebody? First, am I useful to myself? Then the next area of influence is, am I useful to my family? I think beyond that becomes society and corporate. So I think I have some, my kids tell me, my daughter who's studying in psychology says childhood trauma. I'm actually having midlife traumas, learning a lot. And I'm going to pass it on to Rajani and Varun. But I think it's about what's inside you. Helps you decide the brand you want to be. And I've always believed, you are never two-faced. What you are at home, you are at work. What you are at work, you are at home. If you shout at your teams, you shout at your kids. If you love your kids profusely and authentically, you will love your teams and your work profusely and authentically. To me, that's a brand. Right? And I'll talk more about it. So what you'll probably hear is a mix of corporate experiences, the whiplashes that we got over 27 years. Not literally. The feedback that you get in corporate from your boss, the tough message that you get, the failure that you have in your corporate. Not everything in life is great and rosy. My resume may look great, but it has a lot of stories which are worthy of reflecting and saying, oh my God, what a crazy guy I used to be 20 years back, or 5 years back, or 10 years back. So again, Radhika, the reason I brought this flavor, if it doesn't come from here, it will never fit here.
Superb. Thank you so much for that, Raamann. Actually, we just had a small session a while back about how everything about you starts from who you are and what you really want and where you want to, what is it that you want to leave behind in this world. I think that's the key factor to building your brand. And yes, methods are there to create it, but it starts from who you are. Wonderful. With that, I'll just go on to Rajani again to take a little bit more on the corporate side with your wide experience in the HR. Do you really think that someone can stand out in the crowd to, as an HR professional, when you look for hiring in the leadership realm, does this really make a difference in terms of picking a candidate over the other or recommending someone over the other to the C-suite position or to a leadership position? Does it make a difference?
Okay. First up, lovely to be here. And congratulations to each one of you, irrespective of whether you're in this current cohort or past cohorts, as Radhika was saying, that past cohort people have also joined in here. So it's a great investment of your time, and I've seen the past 6 days sequence of events, and I think it's a really wonderfully curated event, and I think you're going to go back with a lot of learning, and I have come here to also go back with a lot of learning. Raamann and I go back a long time. We've been ex-colleagues and great friends, and Radhika has brought us together, and Varun, he's a super cool guy, as I've just realized and learned, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of learning for all of us. So my take on, as an HR professional and as, having a brand make me as a hirer or recruiter or an HR person identify somebody as distinct? The answer is of course yes. Of course yes. We are in a world which is full of competition and all of us are similar, and then we do need to be able to stand apart. Now that standing apart is not necessarily about how my LinkedIn posts are doing or how many likes I have got on Facebook or whether my Instagram stories are going viral. That's there, that opens the door for sure, that puts you out in the public space and kind of gives you visibility for sure. But if it is not backed by content, that is not going to help. So when I look for a differentiated proposition, as we look for anything, whether it's human beings, products, or services, there has to be a differentiated proposition that stands out. Now, I'm from Kantar. I want to take a minute because we do a lot of work on branding. I mean, our proposition, our purpose and proposition is we shape the brands of future. So that's what our proposition is as Kantar. We are a market research, analytics, and data marketing company. So therefore we are. So what do we do with products and services? We work with a lot of brands, and our bread and butter is to help brands survive and grow and consult on that. So we have a framework which, put in simple words, it says a brand's equity is based on three things. How meaningful it is, meaning to say how connected it is to serve your needs, how different it is, and how everybody is an also ran or everybody is together, but how are you making that separate distinction, and how salient it is. Salience we define as quick recall, and and so that quick recall will come if you've been able to make a mark on the basis of how meaningful you are and how different you are. And I go back, and all of this is technical, but I go back to what Raamann said. He spoke about the utility of water. He spoke about the heart, right? There has to be a connect from the heart. There has to be a narrative, a story that you're saying that has to connect to the other person, and that will make it distinct. What is your distinct story? And how can you make it compelling? And how can you make it connect? And because a story can be created, but it will not connect unless it is authentic. So how authentic is the story and how authentic is the narrative? That to me will make it meaningful, different, and salient. And I want to quote Jeff Bezos, who I read on the way, by the way, as a prep. He says a brand is something I thought was really nice, I wanted to share. He says a brand is something that people talk about. Your brand is something that people talk about when you're not in the room. So that's the brand that you need to leave with. And that's, again, I go back to what Raamann said. I mean, what do people remember you for? What is the one thing? And it need not be multiple things. What is the one thing? What's the two things? What's the three things that people remember you for? And Raamann he said, when I knew Rajani was coming in, I knew that she will be thorough, so I wanted to be prepared. I was not thorough at all. I'm just coming in from Colombo and, just come in. But obviously, I have made some effort in the past to be seen as thorough, and that's what he remembers. And therefore, and yes, I did prepare on the way. I didn't have the time, but I did prepare on the way because I wanted to make it meaningful for all of us. So yes, so that's one thing he remembers about me. So what's the one thing that you want people to remember about you? That is the distinct one. And I will look for that when I'm hiring or you look for that even in friendships or whatever. What's the one thing you remember about a human being? So that's my take.
Thank you so much. Very interesting, actually. That made me remind that we look for that one thing in that one person even when we want to find our two partners, right? Yeah. So it's something given. I mean, so why not in the corporate field when we have, like we just had Sanjay in the morning and he said that he leads a team, his company has about 11,000 people, and how will you search for that next one person or two people in that group of 11,000? That brings me to a next question to Varun. Do you think there is something really called a personal image, professional image, social image? Different? Are they different? And how do you balance the authenticity between two if it is different? If not, how can one then, maybe your 3 hacks to build a brand? Yes.
Firstly, thank you for calling me on for this. You and I met. We spent an entire day in the LinkedIn office some time back, and it's been great for me to kind of watch everything that you've shared, and I know the value that you give out there. I hope all the dessert has gone in, and everyone's nice and happy. If anyone needs some caffeine, then put your hand up, and we'll figure a way to get you some caffeine. But I love the points they both made. I think they're such valid ones because you've spoken about the core and the essence of what personal branding is, right? I feel most people feel the pressure of personal branding in today's world because you see all this stuff being shared on social media. You have that 3 things I learned from Virat Kohli's innings stuff happening on LinkedIn, and like, oh my God, what am I going to put out there? But if you take a step back and say that, what is the value that I can give that others can't? And that gets broken down into a few things, right? You got to look at what is it that you've spent all this time in your career learning that becomes the knowledge that you've gained. That's the knowledge capital you have, right? You can say, I put those down. What have I learned over my career? And what are the things that I can do more easily than most people can? And that you can honestly find out because someone turns to you and say that, can you help me with this? And that happens, right? At work, that always happens. That's not one of those things that you can do faster or better than most people can because it's a natural instinct. For me, it's always been going and talking to people who I didn't know. I was that kid who was like 6 years old running around the train compartments, talking to people and telling them what my parents said at home, right? They didn't enjoy that fact, but still I would do that to everybody. So for me, having conversations, meeting someone, having that chat is very natural. And the more I tapped into that, the more I realized that's my superpower, right? We all have that superpower that we can do something that other people can't. So if you actually sit down and write, this is all the stuff I've learned, this is all the things that I can do which no one else can, then you break up and say, okay, which parts of that help me in my personal life, which parts might help me in my professional life, and in many cases it will be in both. That's a great way to kind of distill that down. I do that often with people I work with and founders I work with, saying, let's break that down. Let's break it down to saying, what can you do, and also what can't you do? Like, you have to put down what am I incompetent at? Because we're all incompetent at many things. You give me a balance sheet, I'm pretty terrible at looking at balance sheets, even though I did that for many years. But I'm okay to say that I'm incompetent at it, and that sometimes makes it authentic, like you said, right? It's authentic only when you say, these are my flaws, these are things I can't do, but these are things I can do. And these are things which I can do better than most people. And once you break it into those three aspects, between that lies what a personal brand is in personal and professional. So I did three things eventually, like, but I think that's the way to look at it. That's how, if you actually put those down on paper and not just leave it in your head, so much clarity about what you as an individual can be from the personal brand perspective. And I think the personal stuff becomes values you have, and the professional stuff becomes value you can give, and you can just break it into that.
Awesome. So,
Can I just build on
sure,
that?
sure.
And I want to kind of take Raamann as an example. I'm sorry, I'm just putting you as on. So, I really love the fact that he spoke about, what is it that you're naturally good at and what is it that you're not naturally good at, and that, having a sense of what it is really important. That's one. Now, that's in terms of technical space. From a branding perspective, what I want to layer it on from what you said is, it can also be an emotion or a feeling or what you are known for. Like Raamann, to me, is this affectionate, warm, he's like a, I don't know. Yeah. so that's his brand, and we haven't met in 15 years, but
I'm
that's
seconding this because I've spoke to him the first time day before.
Yeah.
And that is the one resonating fact about him that has stayed with me in that 1 hour call.
Yeah, and I'm saying that's his brand, and there's nothing technical about it. I mean, he is known for a lot of great things. He's a great leader. I've learned a lot from him during the time we were colleagues in Standard Chartered. Excellent, professionally, technically, excellent. The one thing that stands out for me, and that's his brand for me, is his warmth. And that stands out. And that therefore need not necessarily be a technical thing alone. You can layer it, and that becomes authentic because it is you. And that becomes natural and easy because it is you. I just wanted to layer that.
Thank you so much. I think bringing out your natural, wonderful, bringing out your natural self in an authentic manner and helping, basically being you. Being you becomes a very important aspect of personal branding, and I think both of you brought, I was so happy to see the excitement Rajani got, and can't agree more about that, but I'll stick to my questions. So, taking that further, see, actually a little out of syllabus, Mr. Out of syllabus is there, and we keep talking about, the word vulnerability and leadership keep coming together at many times. While you're building your personal brand, there is a conscious effort also which goes towards this. Yes, one is what you're naturally good at, which most times you don't know about it. You may not know until Rajani tells you, and so which you may not know, but there is also something which you can work on and build it forward, and you combine a factor. It's like joining the dots for both segments. In that space, how much of vulnerability is okay, not okay, what to share, what not to share. Everyone comes to the organization, they wear a mask. Which mask to wear and how true can you be in that space? So that's always a question mark which do you all have?
It's a tough one. Since I am the designated teddy bear, let's start. See, I think brands, I'm not talking advertising or the taglines that people bring to the product. Sorry, I forgot. Audible? Yeah. Hello?
No.
Hello?
Mic?
Hello? Okay, guys, I think it's back. Hello? This one. See, the fact that I'm looking for a personal brand, Rajani spoke about authenticity, so did Varun. The minute there is a mask, I think you're already diluting the whole thought process about creating a brand. The minute you put a mask, it's about survival, right? Now, masks are important to ensure you are not hurt. But that mask is not a mask of facade or deceit, right? I'll give my example. I have been raised in a small town by parents who are teachers. All my life I have heard honesty, integrity, hard work, honesty, integrity, hard work, चोरी नहीं करना, 100 रुपए की नौकरी हो तो 200 रुपए का काम करके देना. All that, the middle class, I call it middle class mentality का पत्थर. वो बोझ है कंधों पे, and we carried, some of us who come from those backgrounds. All your life you work so hard, you become arrogant, you become over-ambitious, you lose the empathy towards people. That becomes your mask. My hunger became my mask. कि मुझे कुछ करना है ज़िंदगी में, right? Now, as I grew up, and I think this masking changes over, and I'm using the word mask because Radhika is using that. It changes from a hard mask to a soft mask to a no mask, depending on situations, right? But your true brand shines when the mask is not there. You're not being stupid, but when the mask is not there. In my 27, 28 years of career, this is my 8th job as an HR professional. And I'm not ashamed of it. I was in for an interview, a great brand, I won't talk about it. Everything went well, my resume went to the promoter, and he said, this guy has changed 6 jobs. This was when I was on my 6th job. I don't believe he's honest to the employer. I went back to the consultant, I said, please tell the gentleman, I have worked for only one employer. His name is Raamann Ahuja. Right? That's not a mask, that was not arrogance, that was my honesty. I'm working for myself, I'm providing for my family. I have dreams and aspirations for my kid. Hopefully मैं थोप नहीं रहा हूँ उनके ऊपर. I want to create a good lifestyle for them. I want them to remember me and my friends and my colleague to remember me as a hard-working, honest, authentic, warm person. Now, if you have to say a mask, I'm now bringing a mask of joyfulness. A lot of people who work with me find authenticity, love, warmth, but sometimes no joy. Because I'm such a hard driver on results. For me, business comes first, results come first. That, जो मैं पत्थर की बात कर रहा हूँ, middle class mentality का बोझ जो मैं सर पे लेके घूम रहा हूँ. But as I've aged, hopefully gracefully, I'm bringing element of joyfulness. Now that's not my natural tendency. I'm a hard driver. But that mask of joyfulness, if you're bringing for the benefit of people, I think that mask is worth it. Right? So not a mask of deceit. So over years, you shift, you change your grains, and when we are talking about in the morning, in the afternoon I came growth. Now growth is not an option. हम सबको करना है, either vertically or horizontally. I'm growing horizontally, or intellectually, or emotionally. Right? As you will grow, and another, I'm just going to pass on to Rajani. The joke in our HR communities, हमारी कोई नहीं सुनता बाहर और ऑफिस में. हमें जब मौका मिलता है तो हम बटोर लेते हैं. The other thing I want to share of mask, There was a time in my career I hated my boss, I hated my job. For some stupid reason, I bought a costly house. The minute I saw the EMI, my love for the job and the boss went up. No, that's a freaking mask. The same boss I was hating, I walked up to him, EMI to pay karna? I said, you are such a great mentor. I'm loving working with you. And as I said, psychology, once you start repeating it, today he's my best mentor. A lot of stuff that I have achieved so far, I owe it to him. And you can Google him, his name is Amit Chopra. He's an IMC alumni, blue bread, management trainee with ICI and grown. We had like this relationship and it became like this because the house is the joke. I just changed my psychology around tough times. What vulnerability she's talking about. I'm going to pass it on to Rajani. I have more funny stories to share, but Rajani, over to you.
Go ahead, go ahead. So you want me to respond on the same theme? I can, but
You seem to have been ready for it, so you can take it. Yes, you have something to share. No, but actually that was a great story that you shared about vulnerability, and thank you for sharing that personal story, because that's actually in a way true. Most of us go through that phase when we don't like something, then we put a mask of liking. Internally we are one, externally we show something, and that's where the tussle actually is not with the boss. The tussle is within us. So what is the one advice you would like to share to our audience that would help build? Okay, authenticity is one. Does personal branding help build trust?
of course. Because again, I come back to my singular theme of authenticity, because it's natural, it is you, and therefore it becomes, because it becomes evident, it builds trust. Now, coming back to the question on mask and trust and presence or absence, I don't want to call it a mask, and Raamann said it beautifully. He said there is a hard mask, a soft mask, and no mask in situations. So I would like to call it as game face, right? We all have a game face to wear. There are instances when you wear a game face, and that game face is not necessarily only in professional environment. It can also be in personal environment. When, for example, your child comes to you, say not performed well in examination, and comes broken. I mean, if the child is not feeling the breaking, then you maybe, you say, what the hell is happening? But if the child comes to you broken and says, I have really messed up in this examination and I failed, or whatever it is, or whatever, you may feel as broken inside. You may feel like, what the hell? But the best option there may be to say, fine, let's deal with it together. Or if there is some grief in the family, I'm taking personal example because it is easier to quote professional example, because then it is easier to explain that a game face is necessary. But the game face comes into place even in personal environments. So therefore, it's not a mask. It's what's the best way to deal with the situation at that point in time. And in his case, he said, he used the example of joy to the others. And it can be dealing with the situation. Professionally, I have had instances where I've had to let go of people, very dear colleagues, very dear friends, because organizationally, that was the thing that needed to be done. And I was not personally in favor of it at all. But I had to play my role. I had to play my role and wear my game face. And so while I may personally go and talk to them separately, offline, and whatever, in my role, I have to be what I'm expected to be. And that's what will build my brand as well, because I have a role to play as a mother, or as a colleague, or as a friend, or as an HR manager, or an HR leader. I play my role, and that is important. And that's my game face. That, call it mask, or it doesn't mean you're not being authentic. I wouldn't call it that way. It means that you're being practical. You're dealing with the situation in a manner, whether that spreads joy or whether it spreads neutrality. What's the way forward? When you're looking ahead, the way forward for everybody, that becomes a game face. And it's okay to have a game face. As long as that game face, it is a game face. As long that doesn't become you. As long as you know when to take it off and be your natural self. That's fine. That's okay. That's my take.
Thank you, Rajani. Well said that it's a game phase, and we do play that. And actually, moving on from that part, in a workplace is different from personal space. You can be just you. You can just come home, put your feet around, do what you want, which you can't do at work. There is a personality, there's a persona you like to carry for yourself in that space. How can one establish the personal brand at workplace specifically? You've been an entrepreneur, you've been in a corporate, you've seen both sides of the world. You're also on social media, so, and then a big influencer for those who don't know. And while we know we have to carry ourselves the way we are, but we do have different ways to do things. So any pointers on how we can, in this group of 100 people, they can actually implement few things at their workplace? Of course, authentic we know, but anything practical that they can actually start doing?
So,
And also in that space,
Yeah.
does being present on social media or a space like LinkedIn
Yeah.
will help them to make their voice known?
So I went through this journey of what is, in hindsight, building a personal brand without wanting to, rather wanting to build a personal brand, right? So for me, what it kind of became was a simple thing, right? I started to create content because that's what I came from. I spent the early part of my career working in television, so I knew how content creation worked. I worked in reality TV, worked in that entire space before we started Glitch in 2009. But when I started to kind of create content, I started off with something which I could do naturally. And that's something which everyone should think about. You know, you will hear everyone telling you that you need to create content on, let's say, create on LinkedIn, put something on Instagram, go on Twitter or X, whatever we decide to call it tomorrow, and keep sharing things, right? And the general stuff is that you will find people, actually you find more content on how to create content online than the actual content. Which
Well
is
said.
the biggest like problem we all face. Right? Oh my God, everybody has some 10 hacks to give, but if their only hack is to give you those 10 hacks to give, right? And at some point that becomes that circle where you are sharing the same hacks which they shared with you, and then that goes on ahead and ahead. What I've always seen which has worked, and I fall into that trap. I look at all those videos. I look at everybody's hacks. I try to figure out what everyone's doing. But what I've always felt works is that you have to pick your niche. You have to pick what is the one area and the one kind of audience I'm focusing on for which I actually should create content. And that resonates in two places. It resonates in the workplace. That same thing has to come across on social media. Like at my work and on social media, what I was doing in the early part of me building this out, let's say between 2018 to 2019, 2020, was that I was in the advertising and marketing space. My content entirely focused on that arena. So you start small. You start with one dot saying, okay, I will start talking about how advertising has changed. And so the first property I created was something called Advertising is Dead. Because I didn't come from that background. I had built an agency without ever having worked in one. So I'm like, this space seems to have fully changed. Let's talk about what the change is. So the only focus I had, because all content was just one thing. How is advertising changing? That slowly became how is marketing changing, how are brands changing, how is business changing, how is everything around that. So you can expand it out. But the core has to be one thing and you start with that, so the pressure is less and you need to write that down. And then secondly, you have to sit down and say that, okay, now I've done all of this. What are the things I don't need to talk about? That's the most important thing, right? This belief that, and I'm glad the word vulnerability was used, because it also means that you choose what you're vulnerable about in public and what you don't necessarily have to be public about. You don't have to share everything online. Not everything that you think has to be a tweet. Not everything that you might have heard in an office gathering needs to be on a LinkedIn post or even spoken about in that office itself. What you need to sit down and say, is this giving value to people? Then it needs to be online. If it's not giving value to somebody else, it can be in my head or can be in a conversation I have, and break it up that way. So you got to have those filters ready for yourself and saying, these are things which I'm doing, they are things which I'm sharing, and always put it down on paper first and see, is this actually valuable or you're trying to sound like a guru? It's very easy for us to also fall into that trap. No, I want to seem like a thought leader. I want to put that thing there. Thing is, you can try it, but it will never be authentic to you. It will seem like you're trying to be someone you're not. Go back to the basics of saying, what is the one core aspect that I want to share about today? Break that down eventually to 3 to 4 aspects that you share about today. So if somebody asks me today, what do you share online? I share about 3 things. I share about work, I share about well-being, and I share about wealth. 3 aspects. That's the only 3 things I talk about, which is why the 3 things comes from. Literally, I have to always say, am I focusing on those 3 things? And whenever it's outside that, I shouldn't share it. It can be a normal conversation. So you have to have that filter. You have to stop yourself from instantly following every trend, because after that, if it was that, then we would all have been creating crypto content last year and AI content this year, and we will create whatever comes next. So you have to put that down and also think about how that's going to help you in your career. You creating a certain kind of content might be great for numbers, but how does that help your job? How does that help your career progressing? How does that help your perception in your workplace and in your arena? You got to have those questions ready for yourself. If you don't ask those questions, you will tend to kind of go in directions which make no sense.
Thank you so much, Varun. In fact, that made me think about, in our community, we have kind of helped people find their niche, helped them grow their content on LinkedIn, because we realize that at some stage, you may not always get an opportunity to voice your thoughts only at a workplace. You are beyond that, and we can voice your opinions and thoughts on your niche, on a platform, and actually that gets noticed, and people are able to get visibility even from an external factor. So sometimes what you can't get through internal factors, you can also probably get that attention from outside, being active on other facts. You're smiling, you want to add something to it.
Add one thing. I heard about this concept which I really liked. I read about this literally, I think, 2 weeks ago, and I've started to put this down, is that how can you build your own personal board of directors?
Yes.
Which is a beautiful concept of literally
Absolutely.
saying, these are 4 to 5 people I admire, who I might follow online, whose books I might have read. They might be people from history, people who are not even alive today. And saying that, put them down for specific aspects of theirs that you want to follow. And when you are focusing on that aspect, say, what would their advice be? What have they said about this topic? And use that almost as like a guardrail. I think that's great. Like I sat down, did that 2 weeks ago, and it's made me make decisions much faster, because I'm just following a mentor who I technically don't have to have a conversation with. They put this down somewhere, so I can read that and go by it. So when you were saying that, I remembered.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a very interesting concept. Yes, yes, please add.
देखिए product तो एक ही है, वो आप हो, right? I think we need to figure out, why do I need to create that brand? The minute you do, the onus is on you. Amitabh Bachchan is the biggest brand in the country. Look at the hard work he puts in at this age. You read his stories, whether it is through social media or otherwise. At this age, he doesn't need to put in so much of hard work. At this age, he doesn't need to greet people and be nice to everybody, because that onus of keeping that brand alive is on each one of us. And the reason, I gave you house examples or personal life example, because over years I've realized that's the true you, right? What I think I need to remember is, like Radhika said, what I can do at home, I can't do in office. That's a reality. I think what's important for us is to know our boundaries. A football game is different from a tennis game. A tennis game is different from badminton game. The player is you. I think as long as we know our boundaries and the responsibility that we are putting on ourselves as a brand, आपको हर जगह consistently वही दिखानी है. It's consistency. ये पानी की बोतल ट्रेन में भी बिक रही है, 5-star में भी बिक रही है. Consistency is very important. You can buy for 5 rupees and also pay $50 for it, right? But what's important is, are you being consistent wherever you are? You are an amazing brand in office, suddenly you go for an offsite, you are 2 drinks down, and your brand goes like this. That's the onus on us. You are in a personal party and you make a stupid comment, which is, in today's sensitive word, could be many things. Not compliant or not socially, your brand goes down. So I think let's own it. Whether I am 30-year-old or a 55-year-old or a 60-year-old, what am I trying to do? Or even if I'm a 5-year-old kid, what is that brand I'm building, and will I sustain it for a long time? What are the mistakes, like Varun said, I'm never going to make? I will never going to say something stupid. I will never make a stupid comment. I will not do an action that can qualify as a non-brand. So for all of us who want to build a brand, remain rooted to where you come from. I'm so proud of the small city I came from. I hated it for years. I wanted to get away from Haryana. And today I'm so proud because anytime I'm in a trouble, if somebody wants to pick a fight with me, the first instance is, "Bhai Haryana se hu, soch le." Marunga pehle, sochunga baad mein. I don't say that.
Thank you so much. With that, let's take a quick audience questions, maybe 2 questions we can take. There's someone at the back. Yeah. Can we float the mics? And the next person? Okay, here, this lady here. Yeah, just keep the mic ready with you.
Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. Hello, everyone. So my question is to all 3 of you. Like in this world where we have so many applications, like ChatGPT, something, gives us automated content, right? And everybody is sharing their content. So how are we going to differentiate between being authentic and something that is automated? A big challenge that we have right now. So that's what I came across in my organization. Few days ago, somebody shared a mail and we were very impressed. His mail was very different from what that person used to write. And we found out that he was using something to just, like spice it up. So how can we find out
Varun,
what
you
is
want to
authentic?
take that?
Yeah, what is authentic and what is automated?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Saili here. Yeah, thank you.
So the first thing is that I feel we all have come to the point very quickly to spot something that ChatGPT wrote, right? We know when ChatGPT wrote it, we know when a human being has written it, although it's learning very quickly. But I feel the way to kind of look at this is that this is the tool we all have now. So we're all on an even plane in terms of just the way we do written content, the way we'll create an image, because that learning of those prompts is very quickly become common for most people. Then you have to think about the simple fact that for someone to kind of show themselves to be better, you will actually have to take that content and tweak it to make it sound like you, which is the true talent we'll all have to kind of embrace, right? I have an intern who works on research with me, and we analyze business trends and we look through that stuff. And he sent me something which was from ChatGPT. It took me 2 minutes to realize that, and I said, "What have you added to it?" Right? And when I saw I have someone who's slightly senior who does the same thing. She does the same thing. She pulls it, but she'll break it down. She'll add her own insights. She knows that I know she's taken a lot of this from different sources. But what have you added as a human being? I feel now has more value. The broader content now can be automated, saying, okay, just type down the minutes of the meeting, like how I think the recent the Zoom update where Zoom has that AI companion who can break down the minutes of the meeting. That's great, right? You don't have someone focusing on writing that down anymore. But what is the insight we got out of that meeting is still thankfully a human trait for now. We don't know when that's going to take over. So you got to look at that part. Like almost make it open to say you can put this on GPT, but make sure you also put in something for yourself. If you make that less pressure and not like you're doing chori, then I feel people will be open about it as well.
Thank you. Actually, Varun.
And I want to add on with a quote there, which I read yesterday. I've forgotten who. I've forgotten who. I have to go back to Google to figure out who said it. In the context of AI taking over all our jobs, this is a significant person whose name I'm forgetting, said, no. So he says, AI is not going to take over your job. It is somebody else who knows how best to use the AI who's going to take over your job. So beware of that.
Gary Vaynerchuk said it.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So here you go. So therefore, I mean, what is it that you bring on to the point that Varun was making? What is it that you bring on to make it your own becomes your USP?
I think in the personal branding space, when you could identify it was ChatGPT, that shows how his personal brand has gone down. So I guess.
No, I'll actually give you a practical example, right? And I'll take a more video example so it's simpler. So we use a AI tool for YouTube. What it does is that it analyzes our YouTube channel and gives us insights about what our audience is resonating with and stuff which we wouldn't be able to figure out ourselves. And some of the stuff is I don't think it's possible for a human being to figure out. same with written copy is that to distill things down and make it clearer becomes easier. The problem with AI right now is that it takes away the role of someone who does something that is almost mechanical, right? It's like the most mundane job, but it's getting more intelligent. So understanding a strategic insight becomes so much more valuable. And actually that's what a personal brand is, right? You're sharing strategic perspective. So you can have an individual point of view. What AI will always have is a very objective point of view. So you have to think of what are you adding as an individual, and that's the only way to kind of stand out.
Thank you so much. We'll take one more last question. Yes.
Hi everyone, I am Rajani. So my question is
Rajni
like,
meets Rajni.
yeah, hi, Sam Pinch. So my question is like, as Varun said, like you can create your own private board of, your own board of director. But then in life, I'm sure everybody of us sometimes need a mentor. Like what Ramana was mentioning, like he called his boss as his mentor and he got a good mentor. But how do we really find a mentor? Like I have approached, it's true, like to one of my boss, like I want him to be my mentor, but he did nothing. So how do I get a mentor?
That's a tough one.
You go ahead.
Okay. See, my philosophy in life is the person who values you will find you. The same theory that I have is with the mentorship. I think what does happen to us, and this theory I carry from classroom and college, some of us were teachers' pet. Some of us were professors' pet. Some of us are our boss's pet. Why? I think the core comes to what value I bring to that individual. And that's what is also linked to my brand, right? So I think somewhere I need to tap in what value I'm bringing to the person who I'm approaching as a mentor. Am I solving his or her problem? Am I taking away his or her workload? Have I given him or her that wow factor professionally that when I approach him or her, that person sees the gem in me which is hidden? Right? So I think that's been my philosophy, and it's not about, maybe that person is not capable to coach you or mentor you. That's also a possibility, right? But I think more and more I realize whenever I've gone to anybody very authentically and I said, look, buddy, I'm deep in dumps. I'm in shit creek, I need help. Over the last many years, I have not heard refusal. I think it's also about your authenticity of the pain you bring and say, boss, mujhe help chahiye. It happens, right? I think it's also that authenticity. And it has to be consistent. In times of help, the time when you are able to help somebody, in times when you are shining and you are not shining, and trust me, over a 40-year experience, you will have 20 years when you are not shining. There is a lot of dust on us. So, Rajani, over to you.
Yeah, and I'll build on that. So this on the same theme, my singular theme is authenticity. You'll see it right through. So on the same thing, he spoke about being authentic to your mentor, and I think the first, I want to build on that. The first step is to understand what you want. Again, it goes back to you. What is it that you're looking for from a mentorship? What is it? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And how do you think a mentor can help? And then finding out who that person is. It's not about going to somebody because you know that person, because you don't know whether that person knows what you want and whether that person is able to give you, right? So as authentic, and that's where this whole thing about being authentic comes in. So figure out what I want from a mentorship, who is that person who can give it to me, and how clear and authentic I am in sharing it with that person. Look, I need help. I want to go from X to Y place. I think you can help me. I need your help because I am expecting you to do these things. Is it okay for you? Can we get onto a relationship? And it's not that it is a secret success formula. It can fail. I mean, it's okay. But at least you've put your best foot forward and you've given that an opportunity for that relationship. If that doesn't work, something else will. And the right mentor, as Raamann said, will find you. So clarity, authenticity and clarity are the key themes for me.
And Rajni, I'll just add, walk up to that person, ask him or her, why you're not willing to coach me. Have that confidence in yourself. That's your brand, right? And when you build brands, you will stop being a people pleaser. Because that's the cost of building your brand. right? If I'm a person, a personality who likes to please everybody, then I'm honestly in dumps. But if I'm a personality who likes to be valuable to people, I may be helpful to Radhika, may not be to Rajani, but that's okay. That's okay. So Rajani, walk up to that person on Monday morning, ask him, say, I have a question for you. I've been itching for you to become my mentor. What's stopping you to be my mentor?
Thank you so much, Sandeep. Sorry,
Raamann.
Raman. I don't know where that name came.
That's okay. Round faces.
I just want to add one thing to this, and I'll
Yeah.
keep it brief. Is that she used the word clarity, and that's an important one, right? Some people you might work with who you might want mentorship from. Some people who, maybe someone's online, you want to write to them and say, can I get mentorship from you? Most people have too many things going on in their lives at all times. If you believe that what you want from that person is one specific question, and you just go to them saying, not seeming helpless, but like you said, seeming confident, saying one thing, I know you that you do this well. I just have one question. Can you just respond to it? It'll be helpful. And put that down. Most people will respond to that question. So then you're taking the pressure off saying, say, mentor, okay, I have to now take this responsibility, do this in the long term thing. I need this specific question answer about how do you do this, or how can I use what you do in my own career. That's a low pressure way to ask for mentorship for both sides. So you could just try that, and most times people respond to it. And if you do that enough times, then it becomes mentorship. You just come and say one question, but just do it like every day, and then you're done, right? So
Thank you. That was a very interesting question. Actually, that just that just sums up that sometimes not all great students can be teachers, not all PhD professors can be great teachers, and not all teachers need to be a PhD person. But sometimes people lack the ability to coach while they can be great achievers. So why depend on one person? Knock on someone other's door who is actually natural at it. That will probably help you take the next step forward. Maybe all you're asking is for what is the next step I should take, and the answer will come. With that, we'll call it a wraps and some fun element or rapid fire. Okay, are you ready? Yes, of course. Totally, totally out of syllabus. One word I'll say, whatever comes to the top of your mind, just share that. We'll start with Varun, this time from there. Okay, keep your mics ready. Quickly we'll do. Just add some fun.
Let's do this.
Isko on karna hai. Green light. Yes.
one word responses are the one thing I struggle with the most.
I am also. I am a.
No,
I
one
have to
word.
mentally prepare.
Okay, one word. Success, Varun.
Success to me is balance.
Failure,
Can be overcome.
super. Family,
Okay, my actually answer to success was family.
okay.
One word for family, love.
Fantastic. Hobby,
Dancing.
wow. No wonder Hrithik Roshan look alike.
Without cameras
Someone
around,
said,
generally,
okay. Sorry about that. The craziest thing.
Craziest thing.
Yes.
I really don't. I mean, I'm a very boring person. I haven't done anything crazy actually.
Okay, this year, 2024.
Craziest thing I want to do?
Yeah.
Swim across the river. I don't know swimming. It's not crazy, but that's something I want
Yeah.
to do in 2024.
Cool.
Yeah, I want to learn swimming. I don't know swimming.
Passion,
Music.
wow. Story,
Never ending.
lovely. Book,
Many.
problems.
In my head,
Thank you so
not in reality.
Thank you so much. With that, we call it a wraps. As they say, find a truly original idea. It is the only way. This is what is the dialogue from the Beautiful Mind movie. Find a truly original idea. It is the only way you will ever distinguish yourself. It's the only way you will also matter. So it's a lovely line which I like. With that, we are distributing the out of syllabus book to all of them. Thank you so much. An author signed book.
I just want to clarify that I have signed all of them. Just that my signature looks like a 10th standard child
No, the
signed.
signature
But
looks
that is
like
actually
a
my signature.
design element.
That is actually my signature,
Yes.
yes. People have laughed at this since I was in 10th standard, but that's when I came up with it, and it has stayed.
Stand out starts from there, I guess.
You know, for some of you, and I said passion or music, every time I am speaking on a subject, I go on Google and I look for the song on that subject. And if you are, if you love music, there is my age or even before I was growing up, there is a single called Gloria Gaynor. And she has some amazing songs, I Will Survive. And this is one song which is I Am What I Am. I have the lyrics, you should download the lyrics. That's true for your personal branding. I related to that. When I was reading those lyrics, I was listening to the song, and my daughter said, Dad, kya kar rahe ho aap? I said, I'm preparing for a session.
Lovely. With that, let's give the panelists a big round of applause.
Thank you, Rajani.
Yes. We really enjoyed this. Yeah, thank you so much. So Nanda comes here to share. 1 second.
Thank you, Varun, Rajani, and Raamann.
Will come.
We all think branding is such a big deal.
Is this on?
Hello? Yeah. Thank you, Varun, Rajani, and Raamann. This was really fun. We all thought branding is such a big deal, and you made it sound so simple. And thanks for sharing your personal stories as well. We could glean insights from that as well. I come from a place where we deliver research analytics. We glean through a lot of data to come with some insights. Here, everything that you said was a lot of insight, and I couldn't summarize it, but Raamann, like you said, your brand is what you believe about yourself. Are you a hero, a victim, or a villain? I think that is a very powerful message. And Rajani, you emphasized about authenticity again and again. It's the one thing that people remember you by. And Varun, you said, what's the value that you can give others? That's very important. Pick your niche and make it work for you in your career. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll give you a few mementos to remember us.
The best of outcome for the session will be how many of you did not fall asleep? Because this is soon after lunch. So, or how many of you fell asleep? If you put up your hand, how many of you fell asleep? So it's okay.
There's
That's
one.
because of
Honesty.
That's truth and honesty. High five, high five. Good.
No,
at least
but
you managed
it's
to-
good you woke up on time. The session is over.
So, a small memento for Raamann.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hope you like it.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my cheat sheet. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's for you, Rajani. Thank you so much for enlightening us with your.
Thank you.
That's for you, Varun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll have some coffee. Thank you, everyone. Yes.